Welcome, guys, to another Chat 4.0 here. We are in another skin in the game. It's my pleasure to have here Jose Valmir. Jose, thank you very much for participating here with us in Chat 4.0. Can you introduce a little bit about yourself for us, please?
Okay, first, thank you for having me. Okay, my name is Valmir. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and it would be good for us to discuss some leadership in nowadays because we really have the necessity of this kind of professionals. Okay, I'm a married guy. I'm married with Priscilla, and I have a daughter called Priscilla. She's at the university already, so I'm getting old, which is okay. Which is okay. So.
Not old, the
Uh,
experience.
I hope to be experienced, but you know that. And my hobby is reading. I spend a lot of my time reading because I really like. And as you can imagine, that helps me a lot during my life. And I was born in São Paulo State. In my city, we used to have a lot of sugar and alcohol companies. So my first technician was a sugar and alcohol technician. My first job that I've got, which where it was important because I could practice. They start practicing or learning leadership. That was my
Nice.
first time as a leader with a team and all the responsibility that comes together. After some time, I stopped enjoying what I was doing, so I decided to go to university again and trying to get a degree. And I decided to study forestry and engineering in the University of São Paulo. In the city is called Piracicaba, and I spent, let's say, 5 years studying wood technology. What helps me a lot in my career until today, until nowadays, and all this knowledge that I could develop was very helpful for me. But not just that. After uh, as the time goes by, you start studying more MBAs in strategy, MBA in business and commercial management, and the last, let's say, the official training course that I went to was a master of degree in education, which is quite difficult for engineering.
Yes.
Engineer, we are not so good in this area, but I had to learn because as I studied leadership all my career, since actually I studied leadership specifically since 1994 by myself because I really enjoyed this issue. So I realized that we used to have a gap in this learning process. You know, as a leader, you start talking with the people, you think they understand what you're saying, and sometimes they are not understand what you're saying. Some people understand better when they see things, when they listen things. So you have to pay attention to the learning process to be a better manager, to be a better leader. And this is a gap that is very common in the leadership in all the companies. So uh, that's something that we have to discuss a little bit more further during this our discussion here. I think this is the important part. I think I
Yeah.
explained a little bit about my career, uh, but I also spend a lot of time work for two companies after forest engineering. I worked for Klabin first in research area as a wood specialist, wood technology specialist. I started working for Klabin before I finished my engineering course, and then I just started working in research, develop the use of eucalyptus wood. Actually, at that time in the 90s, we started using eucalyptus for furniture, for veneer, for a different kind of use. After that, about 10 years after that, I went to an American company called Boys Cascade to be a plant manager. We put a plant in Brazil, and I was a manager in charge of all the operations there. And we put this facility in Rio Grande do Sul state, and I spent a very nice time being a plant manager. A
When
very funny
when
job too.
when was that more or less?
That was in 2001. I started in 90s in Klabin. After 10 years, I moved to Boys. I spent there 2000, 2001 until 2008, 2009. So that was a very good experience too, because it's a different culture. We need to stop to talk about culture too. It's a little bit different way to manage people, way to lead with people, the way you control your process too. It's quite different working for a Brazilian company, for an American company, as you probably
I know.
Understand what I'm saying now? After 2008, 2009, I come back to Klabin, and had the opportunity to work in a commercial area. I went there to sell land, buy land, sell trees, sell wood, buy wood, and it's a little bit different work. And after that, I came to Santa Catarina State as a operation manager. So here I work in the forest area, planting trees and harvesting trees, operation area in the forest area too. So
Nice.
that's a summary of my career in here.
Nice. We can see you have a lot of knowledge and experience on that market. Can you explain for us here, for the guys that were watching here, just to realize and have an idea how big is that market in Brazil?
Okay, we're talking about Klabin is a producer of pulp and paper, and in Brazil, Brazil itself will produce about 20 million tons a year. 20 millions of tons of pulp a year. 75% of this production are exported, yeah, and 25 stay in Brazil. 85% of this pulp it's with eucalyptus or short fiber, and 12% is long fiber, it's pine fiber and pine forest. And Klabin it's responsible for about 20% of the pulp production in Brazil. Imagine a market with 20 million. Klabin produces about 20% of that. And paper that we produce too, Brazil produces itself about 10 million tons a year. And Klabin is responsible for about 20% of the paper
Okay.
produced in Brazil. And we produce paper for packaging paper,
Packaging
corrugated
paper.
papers. Yeah, that's the main product that we produce in Brazil. Yeah, we produce really big amount of packaging in Brazil. That's the main product that we sell in Brazil.
Okay. And today you say your role is a plant manager.
And now I'm a forest, we call forest operation manager, in charge of the forest operation in Santa Catarina state. I'm in charge of all the operations that since the planting until harvesting the trees to supply as a raw material to the facilities, to the mills that will produce paper, first pulp and then paper in the area.
So you have a huge responsibility, and probably you work with many different teams and cross-function things. For you, what is managing people?
Yeah, I used to. Yes, there's a lot of people that work. We work together here as a team. We have about 500 guys direct for Klabin, yeah, another 500 guys that work for the 30 parts suppliers. So it's about 1,000 people that is we have to organize and work all together. About 1,000 here in this area that I'm in charge. Yeah, there's a lot of uh, definition of leadership, but one thing that I always used to say that we manage things, we manage assets, we manage inventory, but we lead people. It's a little bit different. You have to be careful of that because you have to pay attention in people, uh, how to realize, how to reach the goals through the people competence, the people desire of realize things. That's the tricky part to really get good results. As a manager, as you have your responsibility, you have to help them to be happy, to considering them more than arms, much more than arms. They are hearts, they are brain. So you have to use them. We saw it in Portuguese, integral. You have to use them as an entire human being. That is going to be the success to organize people to produce and to produce in high levels, which is really important. So since we live in a moment that's this world that we are living is a world in acceleration. Everything happens so fast. The issues that we have to do happens every day, something different and new. I think the really uh, important skills for the manager, for the leader, like I say, is to have to create an environment where you can find the great competence from people to use all the competence. Nobody, I'm saying nobody has all the competence or the skills that you have to realize, to reach the goals, to accomplish all the challenges that we have today. You have to get different competence, many competence. Where are you going to get that? In your team. There's no the God, there's no Superman that will present you everything you need. So you have to put together different competencies, skills. And so you have to create an environment where the people can show their skills, they show their competence. And that's the main role of the leader. I think this is an important part.
You'd say that's the key of the leader to manage a
I
good
think it
team.
is.
That's the key.
Yeah, I think it's the key to create an environment where the people can feel empowered, to feel comfortable, showing their competence, and not just that. Everybody show their competence and respect the competence, the skill of the others. So when you get everything together, you really have a good team that will accomplish all the results you need. That's important.
Nice. In a environment like that, how it works, the project, like if you can explain in a simple way the project you guys do, and how and
You
how
know,
and how you do to get engagement of the. For me, that's very important to know. That's very nice interest, because everyone has a different way to get engagement with the team and the people. How you do to get engagement with everybody? Because like you say, you have many different people from many different areas. Some guys are Klabin, some guys are 3PL. So how you get engagement of everybody? Because everybody's supposed to have the same focus and the same target.
no. I think what is really reunite people, or put them aligned in order to realize something, is the purpose. You know, People has to have purpose, to have a, besides of doing the job, they need to understand why they are doing their job. You know,
Nice.
this is really important to understand the value what they are doing. There's an author here in Brazil that wrote a book very nice called Audace. The guy's very good. It's not Benvenuti, his name. He says that a company without a purpose manage people, and a company with purpose mobilize them. You don't. It's different. You don't have to say to the people what they have to do when they understand the importance what they do. It's completely different. And another thing that I think is very important, works for me here, and when you are creating a project, in order to align them, you explain, you divide the strategy, making clear what the importance of themselves in their role in that project. This is really important. Everybody likes uh, to understand, to perceive that their work,
Important.
it's important, that has meaning. What they are doing has meaning. So it's important to know why they are doing things. This is Simon Sinek. If you would like to read,
Yeah, I know, Simon.
uh, Simon is great, and he says start with why, and that's true. If the people understand the reason, the meaning, and why they are doing something, you know, the success is there. There's no doubt about it.
Nice. So you've been working managing people for a long time, but you start your career on a technical position. And how was that transition for technical to managing people for you?
You know, uh, I'm gonna tell you this. Uh, for me, it was quite easy because I like work with people, and I spent some time as a technician when I was a specialist. You know what? I felt lonely. Well, because it's a job there, you have to study things, you have to develop things by yourself. Sometimes you develop things, you exchange experience, but it's not very often because you have to create things when you are in research. You have to do analysis, you have to write a paper. It's really lonely. And I decided and I realized that I like being with people. I like talking with people because, leadership is about producing something through somebody, helping somebody, develop somebody. You need to like people. If you don't like people, you don't go to the management area
Stay
because you want to
technical.
succeed. You're going to stay technical. But that's something that's very important for us to be discussing too. For me, I'm just saying that was easy. But you know what? I've seen in my career some situations where the technician didn't want to go in the management area. He didn't want to go. So we creating some good companies created what is called uh, Y career, which means the guys continue growing the career, but not as a manager, as a specialist. It's possible to. And also, I also seen people who went from the technician to a management, and the company lost a really good
Good
technician
technical.
and gain a terrible manager. So it depends. It's very important to understand what the people wants
Yeah,
if they want to really go to management.
I agree with you. We have some guys they just desire to be a manager, just thinking about the position, like the manager name position himself, but it's not thinking about the future and the challenge that everything brings. And like you say, once you become a manager and you have people to lead, you need first lead by example, and you need to take care of everybody. So it's
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
This example you gave, it's very important. Sometimes you move the position to a management to improve your salary,
Yeah.
to improve your status, to improve conditions that you won't be happy because it's not everybody who likes to be in charge, to be dealing with some personal issues sometimes, some emotional issues sometimes. Some as an engineer, we are all engineers in here. We are discussing it with engineers in here. It's not that common that engineers like to
No.
be discussing family issues or emotional issues. That's not common. If you, being a leader is much more than status and salary. Sometimes what happens, you really don't have the patience to be in this position. Being a leader is realize things to help people to reach the goals. I think that the most part of the time as a leader, you help people to accomplish, to learn first, and then to accomplish the goals. And that's not for everybody. I understand that everybody wants to have a position, everybody wants to would like to have a better salary, but there's different ways to get there. You know, it's
Yeah, I
important.
agree. I used to say a leader is so good as his team. Like
Exactly.
a leader
You
is
are
so
exactly
strong,
right.
is so
Yeah,
strong as his team. So
exactly.
we talk a lot about lean manufacturing and lean subjects here on Chat 4.0. I don't know how you see the lean, but can you explain it with your own words? What do you think about the lean? How do you guys apply the lean? I'm pretty sure you guys apply lean on Klabin.
Sure.
Klabin. How you guys think about that?
Not just the clubbing. I've seen lean manufacturing in many different ways in Brazil. The most of the company in Brazil copy. Not the case in Klabin. We buy the technology and we buy with consultants and we put the things together, working perfectly in Klabin. But I've seen lean manufacturing in many different companies in Brazil. When you say lean manufacturing here in Brazil, we say Toyota production system.
Yeah.
That's how we know in Brazil. The most of the companies know they buy a book and they buy somebody and hire somebody and put together the system working. You know why? It's easy because everybody wants a technology that always trying to improve productivity, to reduce the waste generated by the most of diverse processing company. So what I've seen here, if you want to have a greater productivity and consequently more competitiveness, né? You have to be more competitive in the market. You need to put together a system that controls the process. But I have to tell you this: it's not very common in Brazil that the companies really put together all the systems. Everybody likes to get a continuous improvement or standardization. You have part of the Toyota system. You know, if you really want to succeed, you have to put together the entire program, the
Yes.
entire principles. It's not that common in Brazil. We
No.
have for sure at Klabin we have, but it's something that you have to be practicing and discussing all the time, all the time.
Yeah, you know that lean. Every company wants to apply lean, but there is a study from the Lean Institute. They say 80% of the companies they start to apply lean, they give up in the first year because
No,
like
yeah, because you have to have one thing that we don't have in our culture. We have to improve in our culture. Now you can say too, is discipline.
yeah, and
When you
yeah,
have to repeat and improve and repeat and maintain the standard, well, that's not us. We all likes to be free to create. We are great in innovation. We are
Yes.
great on that, but we are not good in discipline to keep the process.
the,
That's
the
Brazil.
the biggest mistake I think they do, they just thinking about process and they don't take care about people. Lean is about people. If you don't make people doing the things will not sustain. They will, like, once someone move from the operation, they will break down. You cannot
Yeah,
keep a
but
standard if you don't have
you
people.
know why? You know why? When you don't consider people doesn't work because they don't understand the value what you are doing.
Right.
Look at this. If you explain why repeating and producing the exactly same way, the when you repeat this movement when you're producing a part, for instance, if you explain for the guy when he does for the first time, if he does right, because this is the base, you do the first time you do right, and you increase your production, you lower your costs because you don't have waste. If you understand the importance that they will do. The problem, we go there and we put together the system without explaining to people who you ex- do hands on. The guy who you put your hands there, you don't explain that. You explain for the managers, you explain for
Yes.
the quality team. Look at you. The quality, you explain the importance of that for the quality team, for the managers, but not the, the way you have to explain the importance, the meaning for
For
the
the
guys who you do the
Yes.
job.
I
That's the
learned
trick.
I learned that in the hard way.
Yeah, but if you learn, I'm fine because
Yeah.
uh, sometimes the people takes years and don't realize that.
Yeah.
It took me. I say that I worked for about the last year. I complete 40 years, 40 years, 40 years of work. And you know what? Doesn't have any value the first 20, 25, 30 years. You know why? Everything has changed. The world has changed. A lot of things that I learned there was good, was important to put me here in my position. But you know what? A lot of things that I don't have to use anymore. And one thing that's important is to take care of people. It's a smart move from a manager. If you take into consideration what the feelings, what they are thinking, the importance of what they do, you know, you become a much better manager.
Yeah.
I say that I'm about 5 years working right now in this new environment because the world has changed, the technical opportunities has changed, the society has changed. The guys who work with me, they have changed a lot. You know, what I used to do as a manager 30 years ago doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah.
We have to learn every day. A good manager learn every day. They don't tell stories about 30 years ago, or if you do that as a joke or as a comparison, it's okay. But you cannot act as you used to act 30
30
years ago.
years ago.
For you, not even 5 years ago. It's different
Exactly.
because you moved the culture. Your culture in Brazil was very important, but doesn't make any sense anymore in US. It's a
Yeah.
different issue, completely different,
And after
which is good.
2020, I would say is not 1 year, because after 2020, there is like a different world from now on. Everything changes.
Perfect, perfect. I think so. I think so. I think it's better. I think it's better because we've learned a lot in this year. And
Yes.
uh, uh, I have to tell you, I'm prouder where I'm work right now before 10 months ago. I'm really proud of the company I represent right now. We really
Nice.
took care of people. We really accomplished our role in the society to we produce packaging material for hospitals, for supermarkets, for everything. And I'm as an employee, as a part of the team of Klabin's team. I'm really proud what we did this year. You know,
Nice.
we keep producing, we protect the people, we help the society with a lot of donation things that we could help. And you're right. The what we think about work this year has changed a lot. In my case, I'm really proud of what we accomplished. Really, it's a
Nice.
very, very good moment. Yeah.
Nice. Where do you see this market in Brazil for the next, like, 5 to 10 years?
I think the market of the pulp and paper will be growing as long as the people or the population is growing. It's okay, will happen that. But I think the most important things, I think our company is part of the bioeconomy. You know, it's sustainable. It's really sustainable. You have the trees, you plant the trees, you harvest the trees, and then you put the system rolling all the time. At the same place, you go there and plant the tree again. It's sustainable, and we have the opportunity to protect the environment. And that's give me the think that in the future we maybe it's really probably or likely we'll be producing another products with this tree, like chemicals, like everything that comes from the oil. It's possible to produce from the trees.
Nice.
As a mechanical engineer, but you probably know a lot of chemistry too. We can produce a lot of things from the trees. You have lignin, you have a lot of carbon. You can produce a lot of things. We are developing many different kind of products to participate in this bioeconomy and sustainable way, which is very good. But besides that, I think in order to produce pulp and paper, we have a huge forest area. You know, and this forest in the future will be really important because we can sell environmental services. You know, we protect the environment, protect the a lot of areas of the trees, the native trees in the region. We have to opportunity to produce the water. Water will be important in our country or
It's
everywhere. We
yes.
can protect biodiversity. We can produce or we can give different kind of service in the future. We, you know, I think the value that we have today producing paper and pulp and paper, I think in the future we have a huge opportunity to be selling different kind of things,
Nice.
service,
So the
protection in water, protection biodiversity, new products from the trees,
new products.
chemicals. There is a lot of opportunities there.
Nice. That is nice. So probably a lot of new project products is going to show up.
I think so. I really believe really in this future for our kind of companies. Yeah.
Nice. Jose, if you could return when you were 18 years old again, what do you do different? If you want to do something different, and if you have any advice for the young generation that's coming now, like the young guys just finished the high school, and what do you give us? What do you tell us?
But there's a lot of ways that we can say about that, discuss about that. But let me tell you this: I've lived in a different world. Uh, when I was growing up, when I was uh, developed myself, we used to separate the life in three parts. First, you start studying, working, learning, and getting a job. That you getting a good job. That will the first part of the life. After that, you start working very hard to develop a career and accumulating things, accumulating assets. Now you have your house, your car, your piece of land. You start accumulating assets. And then after that, I'm closed. I used I was almost close to the moment that I could stop working, could stop studying, and take some times off. I retired and rest for the entire life. The world has changed. You and the boys that just finished the university now, they have the opportunity to have a different life that I had. You know, you're gonna go working and studying and having fun. Then you get a good job and you're still having fun. And then you're going to be accumulating things too, but not just thinking about that. You also have some fun. I think the culture, the way that people think is different. All the guys, the young guys who work with me right now, they have a different of life. Vacation is sacred. It's very important. Holidays are very important. They go to the beach, they go to the farm, they like to play soccer, whatever, but they are going to do what they like to do. They're not waiting for the fine of the life to do things like
Yes.
a lot of us, my age, close to the 60s, used to do it before. The world has changed, and I think it's a beautiful change, a beautiful change. You know, but if I have to give some advice, I would say first, choose your career, the company will be working, align very carefully. Pay attention how to decide where to work. Pay attention if the company will be working has the same purpose of you. If you think How you think the word, the company also think the word. That you have to be realized. This is a key, very important part to decide where you have to work. If they think how you think. So this is one very one important part. Second thing that I think is important: prepare yourself. You know, keep studying. One of the components that I wrote in my book is to learn how to learn. Learn how you learn, because you really have to learn very quickly, because the technology is changing a lot, the society is changing a lot. So the job you've got, you're going to change a lot.
Yes.
You have to learn quickly how you learn. Pay attention how you prefer to learn. Think about it. You like to read, you like to listen, you like to write. Learn how you learn. It's possible. Pay attention on that. And that's very important, because in different areas, different jobs, you have to learn that. That's what I've done in my life. Oh, so to have an idea, a lot of things that I used to do, there's no value anymore. I start typing, you know, there's no typing anymore. You go to the computer, just that. I learn Lotus, um, dois, três. You don't know what I'm talking
I don't
about.
know.
It's Excel. It's the word Excel. But a lot of people that are older than you or like me, we start using spreadsheets like that first. You know, what's important now for the boys? Pay attention to the tools that you are dealing right now. Artificial intelligence, machine learning. Pay attention to neuroscience. Neuroscience is important to understand how the brain works. Emotional skills are really important. It's not a speech for the guys to sell books. It's true. I'm right now hiring people how the emotional intelligence they got. How they deal with pressure, how they deal with relationships. It's really important to pay attention to neuroscience. So what I'm trying to say here, what's going on in robotics? You guys will be dealing with different tools that I had to deal. So pay attention to this movement and study. Go there. And this is really important because uh, in the past, we just start learning something when it's necessary. Right
Yes.
now, you guys had the opportunity to pay attention to artificial intelligence right now. Start studying what this movement, robotics, artificial intelligence, will move your job right now. What is going to happen? What's going to happen with you professionally if you know that the artificial intelligence will come eventually in what you do? Will come. There's no doubt about it. So if it's true, what you have to do, try to understand how it's possible to use these tools in your job, what you do. Get in the front. Just go in the front. Don't wait until it comes for you to react. This is obvious, so it's possible to do. The third thing that I think is important to learn and to use this as an exercise to be a great professional. Exercise to collaborate. Collaborate. There's no such a thing as to be the king of your area. You won't succeed. That's BS. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
This is BS. What's really important is to have people who knows how to collaborate. Despite everything, try to
Teamwork.
help the team. Teamwork. If you don't have that, nobody wants the star that likes to work by himself. That's BS. You know, as we know, we are living in a complex world. If the world is complex, you need a lot of knowledge. You need to know a lot of things, a lot of competence, a lot of skills. Oh, if it's true, you need to learn how to use this together. If you have somebody in the team who does not like or does not prefer to collaborate, he's not good for the team. He's not good for me. I don't care if he's a genius. He has to pass this knowledge. What you know, it's your problem. What's necessary for the team to know, you know, how you put this in movement, ha- uh, realizing things. That's the important for us as a manager, as a leaders. And the last thing that I used to like to say to the young people: be smart. I was trying to translate that, and there's no good translation. You help there, but humble intelligence. Being humble is intelligent for you to learn faster. What happened with the young people sometimes, you have a guy who worked with you for 20 years there in the position you've got right now. Listen, pay attention. You know, I know you're good, you guys are good in technology. I know you guys are good in dealing with two or different things at the same time. I know your guys are good. But you know, sometimes you're so good that you don't want to listen people who have more experience than you. You,
Yes.
you are living in a different country, in a different company, a different culture. Listen, learn. Yeah, I call this humble intelligence. What means it's if you don't want to be humble just because you don't feel good because you are raised in a different environment and everything, use as a technique. Listen, pay attention. Use as a technique. I call it humble intelligence. I wrote about this in my book. There's a huge difference with the boys who use humble intelligence and the boys who come very demanding. The guy who knows everything
Don't want to
takes
learn.
they want to learn. What happened? This guy takes 2 more years in average to learn simple things than when the boys who have this humble intelligence. It's amazing. So the development of the curve of learning, the learning curve for the boys who use humble intelligence is much more interest for the company. Use as a
Nice.
technique, you know, very,
Nice.
very, very important point too.
Talking about the book, so we are getting the end here. Can you advise us a book? I would say give us your book because I want to put your book here for everybody to have an access. And if you can advise us a book,
I have many, but I'm gonna show you something that I'm really impressed. It's in Portuguese, but it's GTD, getting things done in English, or in Portuguese, Arte de Fazer Acontecer. That helps a
nice,
lot for you guys to understand how to accomplish things not so stressful and how to accomplish it. I really separate this book. But the another book that's really good, it's my book about management. You know,
nice.
of course, I'm saying as a joke, but it's just the basics for the boys who are starting dealing with management. It's very important. I'm trying to put in this book. I had an opportunity to study an environment which we were in about 7 years succeeding all the goals. 7 years. So in costs, in production, and mainly in the environment where you produce, how you produce, not just about getting results, but the good environment of work. So, as put 7 years, all these results, what is in there? What competence in there? What these guys, what they do in order to get these good results. So I could find 9 competence and 15 skills. Why I'm saying different competence and skills? One competence, for instance, in let's say cooperation. In order to cooperate with somebody, you have to skill with listening, to communicate what you say. So I
Nice.
put together, you have the competence. Inside of this competence, there's a lot of skills that compound that. You will compose that in order to get these results. It's really funny because something like there's a lot, but the what's really put all together is this trustability. When you put together a team who trust each other, the difference in results is huge, and that appears in this study very many times. So I'm talking about a list of competencies, but I'm talking about, let's say, learn how to learn, to mediate. Sometimes you have to mediate things. You have to negotiate things. It's not just the way you want. That doesn't work. I use the word translate. So, sometimes they're the goals or the objectives or the what you have to accomplish for the company. You have to translate for this for the guys who works with you. Don't think it's just because you know what means everybody will know. The competence of translate we figure out in this book that's really important. Take responsibility. No,
Yeah.
don't pass what you've done wrong. If you've done wrong, put your finger. I've done wrong. That's my responsibility. If you have a team who knows that, it's important. Cooperate, I just already said, to reflect about things. Get once a week and try to reflect what you've done. That's something that I'm writing right now, another book. Reflection. You have to pay attention what you do. Stop 1 hour a week, just 1 hour with you and your team, what you've done right, how you've done, if you treat people okay, how you're feeling. So reflect about things. What happened in this life that we are living, we start doing things, just doing things.
Just
You,
do.
you don't think about, you don't reflect about. That's really important to think about. Another thing, self-knowledge. Understand more how you work in your mind, what's important for you, what you really want to be doing. That's very important. Another competence, interdisciplinary, which means you have to understand that you don't know everything. And it's very important to combine the knowledge that you have in your team. So it's not just one discipline. When you work on quality, you need to understand how the operation works, how the logistics works. You have to understand all these areas. That's another point, very important. And then skills, there's a lot. So you have 15. But for me, the most important is trustability or confidence, if you prefer to use the word empathy. You know, there's a lot of things, but autonomy. If you don't have trustability, you cannot give autonomy. How can
Yeah,
you give
exactly.
to somebody to do something if you don't trust them? So the book appears a lot of things that's really important. You know,
Nice. Really appreciate that. After send me the information about the books, I will put here on the description of the video on YouTube. Jose, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for participating here with us. You brought so many nice things, so many nice subjects for us here. You have, I think we could stay here for more 3 hours talking easy.
yeah, very easy. I really would like to thank you for the opportunity to be discussing that because I really enjoy discussing management or leadership. And I really apologize to everybody about my English,
Don't
which
need to apologize.
really, really a good chance for me to practice the English too. It's very good, but I know the limits. I'm I'm now after I'm talking here, I can see that it's a long time I don't speak English, but it was a really pleasure to be with you in
No,
your
don't
your.
worry. Your English is very good. That's one of the ideas of here of the channel. So it's to prove to everyone, most guys in Brazil, that you can speak English. It's just a case of start to speak and practice. Believe me, if I learn English, everyone can learn.
Very good.
Okay, Jose,
Very
thank
good.
you very much,
You are
and
welcome.
see you soon. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.